We will make both of these recordings. We had a meeting yesterday. I see actually a few folks who are returning after yesterday's workshop. And we recorded that one, and we will be sharing out that link when the follow-up email comes out after this. We'll be sending out one follow-up email, and it'll have a few resources in it, including the links to the two orientation workshops, yesterday's and today's. And we will also include a few other assets like articles that we talked through about getting your students started and things of that nature. um, just wanted to give everybody a thank you for being here. My name is Hal Turner. I work here at Carnegie Mellon University at the Open Learning Initiative in Pittsburgh. I'm joined by my colleagues Brandon and Kevin, who are here to help out primarily with the chat and with entry of folks who might come along while I'm doing a demo. So, gentlemen, please be on the lookout for folks who are coming in a little late. And I wanted to let everybody know that I tend to keep these really informal. So please do feel free to stop me as we go. I find that I'm perfectly fine with stopping and changing gears and answering questions in the moment. And I would rather you have your questions answered than wait until the end and maybe I forget or we don't get to return to it or we've lost context. Perfectly fine to stop me. That said, going to go ahead and get started. So we are here to talk about how to set up your course and configure it and get started with your students. So let me share my screen where I'm going to start with Canvas, which is the LMS that we have here for testing and demonstration purposes at the Open Learning Initiative. Share. Let's see. Desktop one, I believe is the one. There we go. Okay. So somebody yell if you're not seeing RealChem 1 in Canvas. But if I hear silence, I will assume that that's what I'm showing. So what I've done here is I have added the Taurus link to my Canvas course. It's here in the navigation menu on the left, but it's also an assignment, which is why it's showing up here on the home page. I guess the home page resolves to the syllabus, and the syllabus has on it this this OLI link. They both go to the same place. The LMS sort of delivery is the most common version. So I'm going to be demonstrating that first. There may be some folks who are on the call who are not using their LMS integration. We call that direct delivery. The process is largely the same, but I will demonstrate how it is different a little bit later. But since most people are going to be using an LMS, that's how we're going to start. So with my help or your LMS administrator's help, we will get you to this point. In your learning management system, in your class shell, you will have to have added Taurus as a link. It is an external LTI tool, and we are happy to help get that done if you haven't already had it integrated. Most folks have at this point, but if not, it is not too late and it is not difficult. So we're happy to move forward with that if it's something that still needs to be arranged on your campus. When you are here, the very first time you click it, what it is going to do is it's going to open up a page where you are prompted to start the course creation process. And what we've done is we have added everybody to a community. And in our parlance, a community is a collection of people who have visibility to certain content. In this case, because we deliver lots and lots of content on this platform, we have trimmed it down to just RealChem. RealChem 2 has not been published yet, so that's why you don't see it here. You're just seeing RealChem 1 for the time being. So what you will do is whichever one you're using as the basis of your course, RealChem 1 or RealChem 2, you will select its tile here. There's no need to do any searching because they're going to be right here at the top. So you'll select it and move to the next screen. Some LMSs inherit a course name here that you can edit. They will inherit it from here, this title, or sometimes from this link. Each LMS is different. So you might see that it inherits a name here and it's auto-populated, and you're welcome to change it. If it's not populated, then you can just put in whatever you like. Course section number is for record keeping purposes only. This is not exposed to students, and it is not going to govern anything important on your end. It's just, like I said, for record keeping. Usually people will put in the CRN here. So whatever your catalog number is for your course, maybe it's Gen Chem 1 F25. And you'll choose whether your class, how your class meets. Again, this does not govern anything technical yet. It is just for record keeping. It is most common for people to either choose only in person or both in person and online when they are face-to-face teachers, and using this as their textbook replacement. If you are an only online course, that's fine. Go ahead and select it, but it's not going to control anything for the experience. So you can't make a wrong choice here. You'll select the days of the week that you meet. In this case, I'm guessing that I'm lecturing on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, just for record keeping. Later, we're planning on some functionality that is attached to that, but we don't have that yet. So you can enter the start date. We're going to start today at 3:09 p.m. Let's just make it 3:08 so that we don't get in early. The end date is going to be 12/09 of 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Oop. I can do this. I know I can. Okay, 11:59 p.m. The scheduling preferred time is the time that you want your due dates to default to. So if you set a particular date for when you want your students to submit their checkpoints or their explorations, you would choose this time as the default time for that. Most folks choose midnight simply because that's the most convenient time for them. But some folks actually want it to be before class, so you might put it 1 minute before lecture begins. It's up to you. And that's it. I mean, once you've done this once or twice, it really only takes 90 seconds. It is not a long, drawn out process. That's your course off the shelf with all default settings ready to go. We will talk about some other, some customizations, some settings, where the LMS gradebook controls are. But I just wanted to pause here and make sure that I left time for questions. Does anybody have any questions about that setup process that I just demonstrated?
So Hal, there is one question in the chat about
Yep.
not being able to see the real chem tile when they come into Taurus.
Great. That means that you have not yet been added to the community. Who is the person? Can we?
Keenan Flynn.
Okay,
Hello.
Keenan. Hey, Keenan, how you doing?
Yeah, doing well. I've been trying to follow along with everything, but I wasn't sure if I'd been added to the fall community yet.
Yeah, it may be that you haven't. Let me make sure. What institution do you teach at?
New Mexico State University.
Okay. Yeah, for some they may have changed something because your colleague Paulette also was not able to see it automatically, and I instead of relying on the institutional value in that community, I had to add her personally. So let me do that for
I see.
you so that
Okay.
you can follow along.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah.
I guess you have not, have you created an account yet?
I have created an account. I can see I'm on the Oli Taurus thing, and it has stated I'm not really enrolled in any courses as an instructor. So, yeah.
So folks, I'm just going to take care of this one little task real quick and then get back on the path.
Thank you for the help.
Of course. This should only take a moment. Okay, so Keenan, your account has been added. You should now see it when you re-enter from that direction. So just to refresh, what happened was I added Taurus to my LMS shell. The instructions are different for the four major LMSs, of course, the four major being Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, and Brightspace. If you don't have those instructions, let us know and we will share those out. We've been trying to make sure that everybody has those instructions, but you'll add a Taurus link, however it works in your LMS, to your shell. When you click it the very first time, it will result in being brought here to configure your course. Let me show you now what it looks like. Instead of being taken to the setup again, I will be taken directly to the management page as the instructor. So it recognizes that I am an instructor in Canvas. It treats me as an instructor in the platform, and the same goes for your students. The students will be passed over as students into the Taurus platform as well. So this is now the expected behavior every time you click an established link. You'll land here on your manage course page. Excuse me, where you have lots of controls over what you can do and present to the students. The very first thing you're going to want to do is check edit section details, just to be sure that actually, I'm going to come back to that. That doesn't apply to the LMS, so I apologize. What I was going to show you was that you need to open the course and make open registration for your students, but now I'm remembering that that only applies to direct delivery courses. I'll come back to that. So first thing, before we dig into the rest of the settings, I'm going to show you the LMS scoring tools. And this is so that you can manage your LMS gradebook. When you click Manage LMS Gradebook down here in the scoring section, again, we are on the Manage page of your course. What you have here are a few tools. The first one tests whether the connection is, the connection is working. That's the first time I've ever tested that and gotten an error. I don't know what that means. It might mean because there's a problem with our Canvas. They might be deploying an update or something of that nature. 999 times out of 1,000, when you click test connection, as I have, you'll get a green success with exclamation points here at the bottom. I don't know what this is. I'm going to look into it. There's got to be something going on with Canvas at the moment. When you have scores that your students have established, you will be able to export all of those as a CSV, each student on one row and each assessment as a column. Update line items. This is the thing that I really wanted to show you because it is a choice that you want to make at the beginning of your semester. If you are the type of teacher who populates your LMS gradebook with everything that a student is expected to do that semester ahead of time, then you want to click this. And what that will do is it will send back to your grades in Canvas all of the columns associated with the scored items in your Real Chem course. They will all be empty, but they'll be in a row in the order that they appear in the course. And you can then manipulate your gradebook however you need to. You can cluster things and give them labels. You can change the scoring models. You can make them unscored if you plan to use them as practice. Whatever you need to do that requires a little bit of preparation, it's recommended that you use update line items to push that into the gradebook and then do your prep. If, however, you think that that might be overwhelming for students to see this huge empty gradebook with 45 columns in it, and you think that that's going to be daunting for them to see, and you don't want to overwhelm them in that way, then don't press this. And what happens is, as students submit their work while naturally working through the course, a new column will be created every time its first submission is made. So when they're all working on the first checkpoint, the first student who submits their answer will result in the population of your LMS gradebook. So you have two options: populate ahead of time with empty columns, or populate as the students go, one column at a time. From time to time, we get communication errors, as we have all experienced on this live demo. Once in a while, the scores will have trouble being synced to your gradebook. And you can come here and you can sync an entire assessments set of grades, one assessment at a time, by choosing it from this list and then clicking synchronize grades. But you also have the ability to watch down here under scoring, again, on the manage page in the scoring area. You've got a link to view the scores that failed to sync. Anything that Taurus received an error while communicating back to the learning management system is going to result in an entry here. It does happen from time to time. It's not very common, but it does happen. There are network hiccups. It can be between the student and the LMS. It can be between Taurus and the LMS. The LMS could be down. Anything could be happening. And so if you, what it will do is it will try 5 times, not bang, 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 bang. It takes there's like a time period in between each, maybe a minute. I don't remember what the correct, what the actual value is, but it will try repeatedly after a natural amount of time. And if it continues to fail, then it will be listed here as a failure, and you can come back and there will be a button for you to attempt to resync it. You can also do all of them at once. Okay, so those are the main LMS delivered course settings for the LMS scores. Any questions about how any of that worked? Okay. Brandon and Kevin, we doing okay in the chat? I'm
Yep.
not monitoring it, so.
Nothing new.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we've got our course. You've decided whether you're going to do the LMS gradebook push line items. I would recommend that you hold off. If you decide to push, then make sure the course is in the order that you intend first. So otherwise, it's going to push all the columns back in the order that they appear now. If you plan to rearrange anything, you should take the time first to do that. So that would be under customize content. So again, we're on the manage page. Under curriculum, you'll find customize content. This means customize in the sense of rearrangement or removal or addition. It does not mean editing. We do not yet have a tool for removal of questions from assessments, insertion of your own questions, editing of text on pages, things of that nature. It really just means changing the configuration of the course. So each of these is a unit, and they are draggable and droppable. So you can move them anywhere you like and leave them there. We'll move that back up. Move is really just for if you want to put it inside another container. So if you felt that atoms, molecules, and ions belonged in Foundations of Chemistry, you would click the Move button and choose Foundations of Chemistry as its destination. The vast majority of people are not going to be moving between containers. They're just going to be rearranging material and removing what they don't teach. We have found that, of course, chemistry is one of the most commonly rearranged sets of material in our entire catalog. There are lots of reasons to bring stuff that is in our Real Chem 2 course into Real Chem 1 and vice versa. When Real Chem 2 has been published, we will be happy to come back and meet with you one-on-one and help you with that. But today I don't have the ability to demonstrate that because Real Chem 2 has not been made available. When it comes time, add materials is the way that that's going to happen. We will add materials, we will choose Real Chem 2, we will select the material from it, and then it will be dumped in here, and then we'll rearrange it wherever it needs to be. But if there's anything here that you don't need, you'll just click the remove tool and essentially commit it at the end by clicking save after having removed everything that you want to remove and rearranging everything that you want to rearrange. You'll click save and it'll be done. And don't worry, everything can be undone. So if you were to remove a unit by accident, we can simply just re-add it, not a problem. Okay, so unless we have any more questions, I will move on to the next thing. So I'm going to cancel this and come back out to the manage page. So because I showed this first, I should, let me back up. I showed this first because I wanted you to know that the order of the content governs several other tasks in the course. So it is best to rearrange your material first before you use this update line items feature if you want to use it. Again, because it will populate in the wrong order if you do this first, but also because of the next thing I'm going to show you, which is the scheduling tool. If you come to your scheduling tool, and I'll show you how this works in a moment, of course. If you come to your scheduling tool and things are out of order, and then you rearrange them, the scheduling tool is not going to adapt to that. It's going to keep the dates that you applied initially, and things will appear out of order. So what you'll want to do is set your content sequence first. Then you take care of all the other tasks in the course. So this is what we colloquially refer to as the soft scheduler. It will apply date ranges to each of these units based on the number of pages in them and the start and end dates that you applied to your course. So it will create this Gantt chart style schedule that will be presented to, it will govern the dates that students see in their interface. And I'll show that to you in a few minutes. I'm choosing all of the days here because my students work, they do homework on Saturdays and Sundays, and this helps them stay on track. It tells them which days they should expect to have everything done by, essentially. But what I am not going to use is this second tool where it sets the assessment due dates for me. That's because today, the tool is not sophisticated enough to let you assign dates to omit, dates to leave out of this scheduler. So it is going to schedule things the week of Thanksgiving break, for example. If you have a fall break, it's not going to know that, and it's going to schedule things over those weeks. And then you're just going to have to go in and move dates anyway. So as long as you are, as long as this tool is going to result in you needing to edit dates, you might as well not even apply them and just go in and set them yourself. So I'm going to choose to not set the due dates. That feature that I just mentioned is coming in one of our upcoming releases, where it will let you define date ranges that the schedule should not apply to. Okay, so here we are with the date ranges that the system has designated for each of these units based on the number of pages. So composition of substance has fewer pages than chemical bonding and molecular geometry. It simply needs more time for the students to work through. So it gets more space in the schedule. Well, what do we do down here for the scheduler when we encounter things that are really not meant, they're not instructive, they're not things that students need to be scheduled? Appendices, glossaries, acknowledgement pages. These are not things that students need to keep in mind for their schedule. So we have a tool to remove them. So what you're going to do is you're going to right click on the block, the range, and you're going to remove that from the schedule. It only takes 30 seconds to remove them all. And now what the system is doing is it is adjusting all the other date ranges to account for the fact that that gap in time had, at the end of the schedule had been opened up by the removal of the material. So now everything fills in the gap accordingly, and the entire date range has been set. Now, you can come in here and change any of these. You can move them around by just grabbing them. You can see what the dates are. Here, let me blow this up a little bit, give you, let me zoom in to increase the size of those dates. And you can see that as I shift this slider's location, the dates also shift. So it's very easy to choose, you know, I know that this week starts on the 10th, and that's where I want to drop it. You don't have to guess. You can also see how this is a grabber hand indicator. When you get to the end, you'll see that it changes to this upright icon, which means that I can now grab it and I can use that to extend or contract the date range. So these things can overlap. This is not a problem. You're welcome to, you know, set it up however you like. Maybe you want everything to, you want the system to tell the students that these first 4 units, they should be working on them from week 1 through the end of week 9, and they all get treated the same. Up to you. You can do that however you like. I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, any questions about how that works? One of the reasons that it is important to do this as the next step is because there are assessments that you can get to in here, and they share dates with the assessment settings tab. So that's why these are in the same place in the interface. You can actually dig into each of these containers, the unit container, the module container. Why don't we expand all? And you'll see that inside of unit 1, actually, I'll just close unit 1 and look at a real unit. The unit 2, atoms, molecules, and ions, has a module in it with this applied date range. And this module has these pages, and each of these is represented by a page icon. When you click on that page, you can actually change its designation. You can change the date designation from a suggested read by date to instead a due by date. So that might not make much sense for a practice page, but maybe down here on the checkpoint, you might want to give it an actual date. And you can change things to due by. Now, whatever date that you actually apply here is going to also appear in the, let's save those changes. Whatever dates you apply here to the assessments are also going to appear here in the assessment settings. I don't think I saved. That was bad. Did I save? Okay, I did save. So they're going to also apply over here in the assessment settings. I didn't save after I changed that date. So bad demonstration. I screwed that up. When you change a date here to an assessment, a checkpoint, you will also see it here. So let's give it a date of today and save that. That's when it's available. It's going to be due tonight at midnight. And now these dates appear in the schedule. If I were to reset the schedule, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean reset, I meant clear. If I were to clear the schedule and return to the assessment settings, it also clears here. This is why I'm recommending that you work in this order of operations. So you're going to want to arrange your material, then you're going to want to schedule it with the soft scheduler, and then you're going to do your assessment settings. Because if you decide after doing your assessment settings that you don't like this soft schedule and you click clear, you're going to undo your work over here. And that's going to be frustrating. And I want to help you avoid that frustration. Any questions about how those two are linked? Okay. So let's, actually, I don't need to, I've shown everything over here in the schedule. Agenda is something that you can turn on and off for the student interface. I recommend you leave it on if you're going to have anything scheduled. And if you ever need to look through here, you can always search for it using the search tool and find it directly through its title, and then you can apply schedules to it right here in this interface. But it's a little bit easier to set dates for your assessments here because you've got that calendar picker interface. I personally tend to like only using the calendar selector if it's going to be the same day. I tend to be the type of person who wants to just come in here and type things in. I just find it faster, but it's up to you. You can do both. You can type with your keyboard here, or you can use the selector. Everything in this course defaults with 3 attempts. The checkpoints, I should say, have 3 attempts. That's because there are, for the static questions that don't have variables in them, there are 3 different versions of it, at least 3 of everything. So every student will get 3 unique attempts as they work through if you leave it at 3. If you increase it beyond 3, there will be some repetition. They will receive questions that they had seen before, unless the questions are have dynamic variables in them, and then those are generally going to be newly generated variables, and they will be different math or formula questions essentially. We also have the ability to add a time limit to your assessments. You've got a late policy, whether you want to allow late starts and submissions or disallow them. Your scoring strategy defaults to best, but can be changed to average and last, meaning most recent. Grace period is for if you have a time limit or if you have a due date, then how long after the due date or the time limit can the grace period be available to students? And this is in minutes. Retake mode is a setting that determines how the questions are delivered on multiple attempts, subsequent attempts. In targeted retake mode, students only have to answer the questions they got wrong on the prior attempt. So if they get 9 questions right out of 10 on attempt number 1, if targeted retake mode is on, in attempt 2, they only have to answer the one question that they got wrong the first time. This was specifically designed for chemistry courses because they can be so tedious with the calculations and with formula entry. And so it was decided that to reduce student frustration, we would not penalize the students who are really going for like a high score, 80 and above, and who want to take advantage of those multiple attempts. Because it can be, it can be a pain to get 14 out of 15 right, and then have to prove that you earned those 14 by doing them again when you're just trying to get that 15th question. But you can change that to normal. And if you change it to normal, then that means that they have to answer all the questions on every attempt. Presentation mode is just for how the questions are delivered to the student. Traditional means one document that they scroll through, question 1 and then 2 and then 3, all on one page, whereas one at a time is more of a carousel. So they will answer question 1, which is the only one on the page at the time. They will click next, and it will present them with question 2. Scoring mode is actually how you would like this to be scored in the moment. So the vast majority of assessments, you will want to do score at the end. So they have to answer all the questions with no feedback, no scoring, no system response of any kind, and then submit their attempt and get a score and feedback. But you can also score as you go, where students answer the first question, they submit it, and they are told whether it was right or wrong, And based on your settings, they receive or do not receive feedback about whether it was right. Excuse me. That is usually used in cases where you are employing the assessments as practice and you want to give them class credit for reaching a particular threshold, attaining a particular score. So if you tell your students, you know what, you get an 85% or above on all of these checkpoints and you're going to get 7 bonus points. This way, they only have to work one question at a time until they know they've earned that 75, and then they can just move on. Replacement is how you want those dynamic variable questions to be treated. So if a question has dynamic variables in it, do you want subsequent attempts to give them the exact same question again? Or do you want them to be replaced with new variables? Viewing feedback is whether students can see the feedback between attempts, or in the case of scores, you go in between or after each question. Viewing answers is the same. Password is, as it seems, adding a password to the assessment that the student has to answer. That's generally only advised if you are proctoring the exam. Exceptions is where you can add a single set of parameters for an individual student. So if somebody needs different availability and due dates, or longer time range, or time limit, etc., you can add an exception for a student. And then whether you want to allow or disallow hints, because the assessments pull from the same bank of questions for the checkpoints as they do for the practice activities. And so the practice activities by design generally have hints. So those same questions could be delivering hints in the checkpoints if you want. Note that there is a pagination controller up here. We only present 10 items on a page at a time. So you're only seeing the first 10, and then you'll need to walk through these to see the rest. There is one checkpoint for each module, and that's actually in the title, and then one checkpoint at the end of each unit. So there's 43 checkpoints in this course, with the exception of these explorations. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 explorations. So there are 36 checkpoints and 7 explorations. The explorations are those full page immersive synthesis activities where students are putting their, what they're learning into practice, and it's helping contextualize why chemistry is really, a valuable bit of knowledge, because they can apply it to their real world. Explorations by default do not have attempts because they are inherently practice. So we give them unlimited attempts if they want, but they do actually generate a score. So they're here in the assessments, and they report to the scorebook, to the Taurus scorebook, and to your LMS gradebook. Okay, so that's oh, the last thing to show you is the bulk application tool. So this is a lot of changes to make manually. So if you find that you don't like targeted retake mode, for example, you can change that to normal. And you don't like traditional presentation, you want all your students to have one at a time because you think that that's how they're going to be, they'll be well adjusted to that presentation. Then you can change that for these and use it, the basic concepts of matter and energy checkpoint, you can use it as a template for the settings and apply those settings to all of the assessments in the course. And so now all of them have normal retake mode instead of targeted, and they have presentation one at a time instead of traditional. And I didn't have to go through and choose all of those on a page, go to the next page, do it another 20 times, next page another 20 times. It was just one action. So that was a lot of stuff here on the assessment settings page. Any questions? We have,
Hal,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Kevin answered it, but one question that came up was, can we add our own checkpoints? Which I'll let you take.
yeah, the answer is not yet. No, we are working on designing a new feature where you can add your own materials. But because of the underlying technology behind these courses, the skill map, the immediate feedback associated with all of the answers, the right answers and the wrong answers, the hints, we have not yet developed an interface that lets people add their own questions. But we're working on it. We are in the design phase now. It's one of the most commonly requested features, and we hear you and we want to add it. We just want to add it in a meaningful way so that you're able to get useful data out of the questions in the same way that the native questions provide data, without making it an overwhelming process. So just a heads up that it's coming. We're working on it.
Follow up to that, can you select from like the bank of questions that are already programmed in?
Not yet. That is another thing. We are, so one of the next features, it seems like it would be the same feature, but it isn't. We are working on a feature where you will be able to designate the questions that you don't like. You know, you'll review the assessment and say, I don't like this question. I don't teach on this. I want it to be replaced with this, etc. Or to add more questions from the activity banks. So that is a separate but related feature that we also hear a lot and are working on. That one is more likely to come first. The other one is a lot hairier because of the way that the skill mapping works and the need to get that just right. But a tool that lets you have access to the activity bank and decide which questions you do and do not want and maybe want to swap is going to be an easier task to undertake. So we're probably working on that one first. Great question though. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So now what I want to, we've covered the main points for configuring your course. You really just need to have your LMS link set up like I demonstrated here. It will take you to the setup tool where you create your course from the RealChem, essentially the template. And then you configure. You're going to customize your content, make sure it's in the order you want. And then once it's in the order you want, you will schedule things and set your assessment settings and decide whether you want to push those line items to the gradebook in your LMS. That's the majority of the configuration that you need to know about ahead of time when you are in the LMS. The direct delivery use is a little bit different. Before we leave, all you need to tell your students to get started is the location of this link. If you have it in your navigation menu, that's great. You can have it, you can just say, use the Taurus link in the nav menu and it will open up and you will work through the material as, you know, using whatever syllabus you deploy here in the LMS. So, you know, maybe you have a 1-to-1 week strategy. So week 1 is unit 1, week 2 is unit 2. So they will, you will not make a unit 1 link and a unit 2 link. There is just the Taurus link. And then once they're in, they need to navigate to where they go. When they get in here, oh, we already were in here, I forgot. When they're in here, one of the most common questions is, where's the stuff? Like, where is the course? Because this homepage is not the material itself, it's information about their experience. So they can, the very first time they come in, they can start the course, which means go to page 1, or they can discover content, which means show me the essentially the table of contents. Show me what's in this course. And if they go to page 1, they go to page 1. I'll show you what that looks like. So it literally takes them to page 1. And As an instructor, I'm seeing instructor resources. This area is not going to be visible to the students. It's going to start for them here with this intro video. This is a contextualization video, helping them understand why chemistry is important, how it affects their real lives and their families' lives, and hopefully getting them pumped to learn. And you've got this navigation at the bottom to just go to the next page, etc. It's pretty simple. Remember that this page 2 is information on how to use AI in the course. I recommend that you attend one of the other workshops for instructors, that they're going to go over how to use this with your class and what the implications are. That's not something that I generally cover in this, but I want you to know that this page is a resource that you can point your students to or return to yourself in order to familiarize yourself with how the AI is used in the course. So if you're not navigating page to page, just a heads up, there is also a support modal down here at the bottom left, where you can send us an email and attach a screenshot. You can get to our knowledge base, but we are always, this does not get dropped into a black hole. We have folks who are checking the emails constantly. So you and your students are gonna get really, really prompt responses, generally the same day. This is not a black hole. But to get out of this interface and back to your navigation, you just click this caret at the top left, and you're taken back out to the home page. Now, this banner is essentially a bookmark. It takes me back to my last location. Okay, so anytime a student comes back from here, their experience is not going to be the manage course page because they're not instructors. Their experience is going to be being dropped here on the home page, and they have a bookmark to resume their practice. If they need to go somewhere specific based on what's in your syllabus, they can simply use this Learn menu and navigate the course here. So Learn is where you get to all the pages. These are just the units in a sort of visual representation. So each of these tiles represents an intro video or a page, a top-level page in the unit, or a module. These are all contents of Unit 1. These first three pages are just intro pages, and then starting on page 4, we're into Module 1, the basic concepts of matter and energy, and Module 1 has these pages that apply to this modular topic. As they work through the pages, they will earn a green check mark so that they know what they have finished and what they haven't. They can even hide what they've done. They can hide things that are completed so that they just have a view of the stuff I haven't done yet. How do I attain 100% completion or 90% completion, whatever I need in order to meet my instructor's requirements for the participation in the course. So you can click into any page you like, but your syllabus is going to guide them where they need to go week to week. So it is not going to be a week 2 link, week 3 link, a week 4 link that takes them to a particular destination in the course. Rather, it's just guidance for where to go. Tell them Unit 2, and they'll be able to find Unit 2. Tell them Unit 5, they'll find Unit 5. The notes section here, let me see if I can demonstrate this. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played with it. On pages, we've got this right-hand side with page navigations. So you can move around within the course by clicking this icon here that indicates, essentially the structure of the course. And when you open it, you can move around within the pages and the containers. But you've also got this notes tool. And what you can do is you can add notes. You can choose to stay anonymous. This is a result of our research into helping students and empowering them to get help. A lot of times they don't ask for help because they're afraid of being stigmatized. And so the ability to stay anonymous is something that we like to be able to give them. This is something you could turn off if you wanted, but they stay anonymous to their peers, not to you. But so you'll post your question, and then when you return to the notes section, if I've done this right. No, it has to be approved. So it's got to be approved first, and then it would appear here. So this is where you can collect notes for yourself, and those group discussions would appear here. I'm sorry, I just have to, I would have to approve it first as the instructor. Assignments is just a collection of the scored pages. You'll notice that they all have a number before them. These are actual pages in the course, 13, 27, 29, 30. They're just a collection of the things that generate a score. That's all it is, because that is one of the most common, or was one of the most common requests from students. How do I see where all my checkpoints are? When there are dates applied, those will appear here as well. So that's all that assignments is. Explorations is the collection of those exploration activities. I showed you that there were 7 of them earlier in the assessment settings interface. Here they are, and the units that they appear in. They also are pages in the course. So if you are walking through the course as a student, 1 page at a time, you will naturally encounter these. This is just an extra door to reach those rooms. And then practice is just like the explorations. These are also pages in the course, but they are collected here so that if you wanted to find them easily, you could. It's just an aggregator page. So module 13 has dilution and molarity extra practice. These pages do not contribute to the student's progress. They don't have to do the work in order to attain 100% in the modules that they sit in, because they are extra practice. They are intended for, you can assign them if you want. You can add due dates to them and tell the students that they have to do them. That's perfectly fine. But because the original intent was for them to be deliberate practice selected by the student to do or not do, they do not contribute to participation overall. So that's a lot. Do you have any questions before I show the direct delivery differences?
Oh, there's a couple that we left for you.
Okay.
One, Jay is asking, does the system allow for mastery-based learning or standard-based grading? And Kevin and I are kind of like somewhere in between.
The system does not have the ability to apply a different scoring model at the moment. As a research group whose interest lies in instructional design and online instruction in particular, we are working toward the ability to implement different learning models. And that may be the kind of thing that could be implemented in that learning model swap tool. But as of now, it's just a one size fits all design. It is as it is, with no modularity or options to it. And while I get set up with the other interface, was there another question?
The other one I think is straightforward. I just might have missed it. The notes feature by default, if enabled, is shared across the class, right? But I think you have options, right?
Good question. There are 2 kinds of notes. One is personal notes and one is class notes. Class notes is called class notes, but it's essentially public discussion opportunities. It's the opportunity for the student to say, here's something that maybe that I'm not sure I understand. Can somebody explain it better? And it's there for both their student peers as well as the instructor to address. But they also can choose to do personal notes that act as a study guide. So this is the direct delivery interface. I signed in earlier. Hopefully I'm still signed in. It's been a while. Instructors who use this interface will simply click create new section, and then Real Chem will be here. We have we've got thousands of courses that would clutter up this interface if we didn't use communities, but we will for those of you who are using the direct delivery path. So you'll do the exact same thing that I demonstrated earlier, where you just set up Real Chem, and the fields are identical to what you saw at the beginning of the demo. I have created this course, and here is what it looks like when you're in direct delivery. You will notice down here at the bottom that under scoring, we have nothing related to the LMS. It's just your assessment scores and things that might require manual scoring. I don't think Real Chem has any questions that must be answered or that must be manually scored by the instructor. So you're probably never going to see a notification here, but if that ever did happen, there would be a notification here letting you know that there are things to take care of. Here is the important piece that you only have in the direct delivery space. You need to build your course and then come to edit section details. And you will notice that these are not checked by default. You will click registration open in order for the ability for students to be able to enter the course, and requires enrollment in order to know who is entering the course. So that means they have to create an account. You'll save that. You'll come back to the manage page. And now that the course is quote unquote open, you can create an invitation link. I've created a couple here. I've demonstrated how to do it. What this means is you are creating a new link that expires after whichever button you press. It expires after a day. Most people don't use that. We usually use it for like demos. Same with 1 week. The section start is only advised if you don't have an add drop and you just want to cut off new enrollments after the course begins. That makes sense in many cases, but in most cases it doesn't. You're going to want to use section end so that students who join after or during the add drop period still have the ability to get in. So all this does, when we say section end, all that governs is when students can enroll, not whether they have access. They will always have access. It just governs how long this invitation link works. So you share this invitation link in your LMS. Students will follow it to enroll, and they will start landing on their actually it will look just like your My Courses page. So if we go back out to My Courses, they will have this student interface, and your course will be here, and they will click it and they will enter the course. They will land here on the home page. They will have a resume practice button that acts as a bookmark. They'll see their course progress. If you have enabled that agenda, like I mentioned earlier on the scheduling page, the agenda will be here to show them what's coming up this week and next week, et cetera, et cetera. The student experience from a visual standpoint is exactly the same. It's just that in the LMS, you just click your LMS link, and in direct delivery, you log in. And that's it. So it was a long hour. We covered a lot of stuff. Does anybody have any other questions? You still got me. I'm still here. I'm happy to address anything. Okay. Well, in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and we will share this out when we do our follow-up email.